Arg! Ahoy there, matey! Welcome aboard the world of boating.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
I was just looking into buying a boat of my own.
Call World of Boating toll-free now at 1-8888-28-BOAT. That's 1-888-828-BOAT.
And welcome. This is the World of Boating. Greg, your first mate. That is me, along with Mike the Mariner, running out the crew. We're missing Barry the Boater at the moment because, well, it's kind of tax season. It's busy time of year, and he let a four-letter word get in the way of him doing the show today.
Did you file a missing accountant's report?
No. Heck no. He's on his own. I mean, if he's off the vessel, as we cruise through the latest virtual cruise through the latest boating news and information, screw him. So
he's not listening. He's crunching numbers.
That's right. Like I said, he's letting that four-letter word get in the way. Work. And,
I hate that.
Yeah. A better four-letter word is boat. And that's what we focus on this week. Now, Mike missed last week because, well, he was busy picking up his vessel, and we were planning to have him on the show last week and, talk about the Palm Beach Boat Show that's going on this weekend, but he couldn't do it because he went up to pick up his vessel and he was cruising back, hit some weather, had some AC issues, so we got delayed a week. So we got to catch up with you, Mike. So obviously I see on YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitch, and even, we're streaming on X today too, that you're sitting on a boat, and I assume that's yours.
It is. That's a silhouette. We got her home finally.
Okay.
Yeah, it was quite the weather event that we had to dodge around, but and there were a few twists and turns and getting her ready for the return trip. But and then that's what actually didn't allow me to do the show last week because we had a couple of surprises prop up right when we arrived. And
some issues.
The original plan.
Yeah.
A couple of minor issues.
Yeah. So you were coming back from Jacksonville where the boat was being worked on.
Yes.
And they had fixed it all up, and you were cruising back to your home base in Sanford. And so what happened? First, we heard there was a AC issue. You want to address that first and then talk about the weather, or vice versa?
Yeah, well, we'll kind of go through the whole thing. So what was supposed to take about a week and a half ended up being 3 months because we originally took the boat up there for just a bottom job and anodes and an inspection. And that inspection yielded some other issues. So we decided to go ahead and address some of those repairs.
So it's like you're going into a colonoscopy and they find some polyps.
Exactly.
Okay.
But different.
Bottom job. Yeah. So it took a little longer than you were hoping for, but they got it all fixed up, and you got the green light to go pick it up in Jacksonville, and that was the plan. You did. And how far did you get into the trek back to Sanford that you realized you were having a problem?
Well, the original plan was to get up there early Saturday morning, get the boat provisioned and loaded, and then leave at noon and make it to Palatka that afternoon. Okay. When we got there, we found a couple of things that weren't ready for the cruise. The air conditioning was one. Turns out the circulation pump failed. So we had to source a circulation pump, and we found one 30 miles away. So I had to drive all the way across Jacksonville to another West Marine store, pick up the pump, get back, got the new pump installed, flushed the lines, got everything going. But then it was too late to leave. So we stayed an additional night, which put a little bit of pressure on our return trip plans. And so Sunday morning, everything's ready to go. Air conditioning working great, engines up and running, warmed up, and the winds were really, really, really high, and it was overcast. And I don't know if people were following the weather, but that's that big weather front that came in Sunday afternoon. Was already affecting the northern part of the St. Johns River.
Yeah, well, that was the one that had the tornado in it too.
There were several tornadoes in it. So we got up early Sunday morning and got underway, and it was just a really kind of a sloppy, bumpy ride all the way down to Palatka. But we made Palatka in about 4 hours because we
Okay.
ran pretty hard. And
that was all through like the intercoastal, or were you out at off the coast, or what? What were you
we
doing?
were actually returning on the St. Johns River. So the St. Johns River flows north, and to get to Sanford, you're going south, but you're going upriver. So we were heading up the St. Johns River, to the south, and we got to Palatka, and really about 15 to 20 minutes after we tied up, the front hit, and that's when the really heavy rain and winds hit.
Yeah.
So we got there just in time, but it was kind of a sloppy ride.
Okay. So, but you got tied up, and you just weathered the storm. It was fine. Just the skies opened up and wind, and it was just a mess.
Yeah, we stayed tucked in the rest of the afternoon there in Palatka and cooked some food and watched a couple of movies and enjoyed the boat and then just got her ready for the next day, which was a long. The Monday was a long trip, and now the weather cleared out, but the winds were still there, so we still had 20 knot winds, 22 knot winds, gusts.
Right.
So pretty rough day on the upper. The upper part of the St. Johns River there north of Lake George.
And you have a pretty big profile with your vessel. So the wind, is it pushing you around quite a bit and you got to fight it a little, or what?
You could feel it because the winds were out of the northwest at about 20 to 22, which really stirs up Lake George. And Lake George is 14 miles long and about 12 miles wide. So it's basically like an inland sea. So there's no protection out there. So very, 3 to 4 foot rollers, pretty close together because it's a pretty shallow lake. So it makes for a little bit of a lumpy ride. So you're constantly correcting the wheel because the wind's, changing your heading.
Right.
All the time.
I mean, did you kick in the autopilot? Will it do that or no?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I did. I did kick it in a little bit just to exercise it and test it out. But generally, I generally go ahead and manually drive when I'm on an inland waterway like that.
Right. Yeah. You prefer that just because it's fun.
Yeah.
Or that way you can navigate any obstacles.
Well, you're
that
always
pop
having
up.
to make you're always having to make a course correction, and you're in a channel that's not very wide. So autopilot's not very conducive for that kind of situation. But but crossing Lake George, you can kick autopilot in. There's plenty of room, and as long as you're keeping an eye on things, you're good. And then when you get into the south, south of Lake George, the river is much narrower. So even though the winds were high, you're protected by trees, and it was a much more pleasant ride the rest of the way.
So how long did that take you? That was on Monday, and then you got back into Sanford by the end of the day, or what?
We did. Okay. We did. Monday was a long day. It was about 9.5 hours of cruising. That was so. It was
do it all, or do you rotate off and give control to your better half? Like, all right, it's time for me to nap.
Yeah, she ran the boat quite a bit, because it was a 9-hour ride. But it's good. We're listening to music. Yeah. We're having snacks and things like that. We're traveling at 8 or 9 knots. So it was relaxing once we were out of the unprotected waters. And
could you tell any difference in the way it handled as far as the bottom job? I mean, you get that bottom job. Does it feel slicker, or you're cruising by and other boaters are going, "Hey, nice bottom."
well, I also had her detailed, so she does look awesome, and she's nice and shiny. But no, not really, because where we keep Silhouette, it's a freshwater area, so we don't get growth on the bottom of the boat or anything like that. In fact, when we hauled her out, she was totally smooth. There's no barnacles or anything like that. So no, you don't really notice any difference in the handling.
Okay. So it's just a little just a clean up the bottom,
and we tune the props.
Make sure check out everything and fix up the things that they had found. You had some bent
struts.
Struts that you had to get resolved. Okay. Well, you're back in Sanford, and he looks he's happy. He's on his boat today. How could he not be? We got more coming up on the World of Boating. Stay close.
You're listening to the World of Boating Radio Network.
explorer in the other 2/3 of your world. Be the buddy who takes the kids in the aquarium instead of just to it. Be adventurous. Be amazed. Be a diver.
Traffic sucks, unless you're scuba diving with Mike Scott.
Mike glanced down at his dive computer. It showed less than 50 PSI left in his tank. Probably just a few more breaths.
Or riding shotgun in a thrilling car chase.
One bullet hit the Jeep's windshield, spiderwebbing the passenger side. Mike shifted into second gear and felt the Jeep leap forward. This just got serious.
Escape your commute with audiobooks from author Eric Douglas. Download to your phone. Go to booksbyeric.com or audible.com.
Hosting a radio show about scuba diving and boating is one of the best gigs on the planet. It's actually part of my job to check out and report on cool new products I personally use to enhance my diving and boating adventures. However, I do believe in sharing the joy, and this is why we've added Nanook protective hard cases to our list of products you can now purchase on the merchandise page at scubaradio.com. Nanook cases are designed to protect the most sensitive equipment in the harshest environments. Underwater photographers, listen up. From their high-impact NK7 resin to their exclusive Power Claw latches, Nanook has raised the bar for those of you that demand the best protection for your gear. Plus, Nanook protective cases cost less than similar products currently on the market. The company has been around for over 15 years, but it's new to the U.S., so we've made a small number of Nanook cases available exclusively for you at a special introductory price on the merchandise page at scubaradio.com. Go there now and check out Nanook, the evolution of protection.
Successfully navigated the Sea of Commerce and now are clear to cruise with the World of Boating.
I do like the water.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
The sun, the sea air, good friends.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
Batten down the hatches. Aye, aye, sir. Mend the bowsprit, stow the mizzenmast, jibe the jib boom, hoist the mainsail and lower the tattersail. Look sharp, lad. Pike the starboard, hatch the leeward, thwarts and trim the scuppers of the port poop deck.
This is the World of Boating. Greg, your first mate. That is me, along with Mike the Mariner. By the way, you can watch us on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitch, X. Take your pick. And we apologize in advance, but you'll notice that I'm sporting my AC/DC concert ticket, or a shirt, I should say, right now, because I have an AC/DC concert ticket for May 16th on my birthday. So does Mike, and we're getting and we got only a few months away. But by the way, I don't know if you checked though, Mike. Man, every ticket is sold in the stadium. I mean,
did you get our limo?
I did call him. I got to talk to you about that. It's a little pricey. Yeah, we're talking about taking hey, let's go like ballers. Go to the AC/DC show in Tampa. We might be better off renting a helicopter. I don't know, but we'll talk about it and see if we can still make it work. But yeah, we got some big plans for May.
Rock on, man.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
I'm having a birthday party, and AC/DC is playing at my birthday party. How about that? That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, it's Colleen's favorite band, so
okay. All right. Well, there you go. We'll have multiple reasons to celebrate. There's no question about that. But look, so this weekend we got the Palm Beach Boat Show going on. Weather is spectacular in Florida this weekend. That should play to their favor. I know they've been expecting a pretty strong show, so it's going to be interesting to see, what the reports are from the Palm Beach Show. We'll cover that accordingly. Maybe talk about it a little bit more a little bit later on today's episode. But before we do that, we got to go back. This is actually an article from the Miami International Boat Show that talked about the debut of a lot of the new outboard motors and technology. We talked about a lot of the electric offerings that they had at that event, and I'm sure some of these are going to be on display in West Palm today as well. But we thought it would be a good time to go over some of these outboards because the technology is not just electric. I mean, they're getting bigger, bolder, more powerful. I don't know, but even heavier too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to work down these, or what do you think, Mike?
Sure. So, I mean, so there's a trend that I'm noticing in outboard. Much larger. There's V10s, there's V12s, 600 horsepower outboard motors that, just a few years ago would have been unthinkable. And I think what it gives some boaters the opportunity to do is take a boat that's, say, a 42 or a 44-foot center console offshore fishing boat that, maybe 5 years ago you would have been putting 5 outboard motors on it. And well, now you can reduce that down to 2 or 3. They're larger motors, higher horsepower.
Right.
But if you can reduce the number of motors, that reduces the number of cylinders, that reduces the number of everything that can go wrong. Right.
Right.
So I think the trend towards larger, higher horsepower outboards is going to present opportunities to both reduce the overall weight. You go larger motors, but fewer of them, and your overall weight goes down. But that also reduces things like drag and things like that. So if you don't have 5 motors and you have just 2 or 3, and you're producing about the same horsepower, that just equals efficiency and speed. So there's a lot of good things happening. Mercury has the new 5.7 liter V10 Verado.
Yeah.
Which some great mid-sized boats. You could in the 35-foot range.
Well, how does that rank? Because it says it's 700 pounds plus. I mean, that's a pretty
for that
heavy motor, outboard motor, wouldn't you say? Or what do you think?
Yeah, well, it's heavier than a normal outboard motor, but for its horsepower, it's light.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting more power from an overall lighter package. So if you have just 2 of those versus 4 smaller motors, think about all the steering gear that gets simpler, the motor brackets, all the things that you have to have more of with smaller horsepower motors.
Well, more motors, more problems. Or is it more motors, more problem? I don't know. One of those.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I mean, if you've got 30 cylinders popping around versus 20,
right,
then certainly you have an opportunity for more failures. But no, some good stuff happening. So yeah, the V10 and the V12 outboards are out there, and Mercury's new Verado is 5.7 liters V10, and
it's a monster.
It is a monster, and
you're still gonna have those guys that want to put on like 4 or 5 of these on the back of their vessel, just to make it look impressive. Maybe supposing that if you didn't put them on there, it doesn't sink the boat, because it would be a little hefty. But
so modern boats are built with additional buoyancy on the aft ends of the boats to handle that extra weight because of the trends in higher horsepower.
You want a little more junk in the trunk, they got you covered. Right.
So you'll see people that have, say, a 30-year-old Wellcraft Scorpion or an older cigarette center console or something, and they'll put 2 or 3 larger outboard motors on it, and you'll notice that the bow's kind of in the air and the stern is sitting a little low in the water. Then you remember seeing those boats sit, and that's because those boats don't have the buoyancy to handle the
extra weight,
right, and the new the additional horsepower. So
right.
So anyway, just really good stuff happening there. Yamaha has something really interesting going on. So Yamaha has been spending the last probably 4 or 5 years working on a hydrogen-powered outboard motor, and it's not on the market yet, but they've been doing a lot of testing, and a lot of good things are coming from that, and I think it has real potential. The one that they're working on right now is 450 horsepower, hydrogen-powered. It's being co-developed by Roush Racing, believe it or not, who is working on some of the things like the fuel management systems and other things there. But that is probably one of the more promising technologies that I see coming.
Clean burning, and also it could be quite cheaper to operate, right? Because the hydrogen, as long as they can
Yeah.
figure out a way to fuel up with the hydrogen at the moment, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then, you have to have, the refueling infrastructure available. I think that's one of the challenges. All these new technologies have limitations. The electric outboard motors have, they have a certain range you can go before you start losing your full power. So they start to step down the power to save batteries on long trips and things like that.
Right.
So everything's a compromise. But I think hydrogen power. I'm really bullish on hydrogen power, not just for boats, but for regular vehicles as well. So really cool to see them continuing to develop that technology.
Okay, well, we got more, on outboards and a little bit on the West Palm Beach or Palm Beach Boat Show coming up on the World of Boating. Stay close.
You're listening to the World of Boating Radio Network.
Traffic sucks, unless you're scuba diving with Mike Scott.
Mike glanced down at his dive computer. It showed less than 50 psi left in his tank. Probably just a few more breaths.
Or riding shotgun in a thrilling car chase.
One bullet hit the Jeep's windshield, spiderwebbing the passenger side. Mike shifted into second gear and felt the Jeep leap forward. This just got serious.
Escape your commute with audiobooks from author Eric Douglas. Download to your phone. Go to booksbyeric.com or audible.com.
Do you have a message or product you need to share with the boating world? Well, look no further than the World of Boating Radio Show. Just like you, thousands of boating enthusiasts are hearing this message, and we could be talking about you and your product or service as early as next Saturday. Remember, a terrible thing happens when you don't advertise. Nothing. Go to worldofboating.com, send us an email, and let's get to work to make your marketing message matter.
Successfully navigated the Sea of Commerce and now are clear to cruise with the World of Boating.
I do like the water.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
The sun, the sea air, good friends.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
I'm really excited to check out these beautiful waters with you in a really cool way.
All right.
See that boat over there?
Yeah.
I think we're going to sail on it today.
Oh, my God, yes.
This is the World of Boating.
Here we go.
The Bachelor or Bachelorette's on right now, the latest season. They're getting ready to kick up their fantasy suites.
Oh, my God.
Probably on a boat. If this boat is rocking, we probably got a match or something, I think is how it goes. You're keeping up on that, right, Mike? Or is that Barry's gig?
That I think that's Barry's show.
Yes.
I don't really watch Bachelor or Bachelorette.
Right. Well, we know Barry does, and we can say that because he's not here, so we're going to throw him under the bus accordingly.
Yeah, I think it's his favorite show.
Of course it is. Yes. Yeah. Hey, he keeps that show on the air. He's auditioned to be the Bachelor, even though he's married several times over, I believe, because his wife's like, "Get the hell out of here." No, I'm kidding.
Right.
They're happily married. They're fine. Don't worry. See, this is what we do when we have a crew member not show up to the show. We can definitely just keelhole them virtually, right? That's how it works.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. But we got Mike the Mariner. I'm here as always, and I apologize for that up front. So I think we're covered. But let's get back to talking about these outboards. So Yamaha has this new hydrogen-fueled outboard that they've been working on. They showcased it at the Miami show. It might be on display this weekend in West Palm. I'm not sure, but I'm sure we'll hear about it eventually. But it's one of those things that might be coming to market in the next year or two, hopefully, if they can make enough progress.
They've actually been working on it since 2003, so it's right. So it's not new.
Yeah.
But they're definitely getting to the point where it looks like it's going to be commercially viable. So that's really good.
Yeah. Well, and plus they say we have a ton of this
still,
fuel available, by the way. I mean, like I said, the infrastructure would have to be set up. But as far as hydrogen possibly being some kind of, I don't know, maybe it might be, to cover that base between going from gas to fully electric to let the technology catch up enough. We may have an interim period where hydrogen might come in there or may come into play with electric or something in some way. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
I think demand will drive the infrastructure development. If you look at what's happening with electric vehicles, you see charging stations all over the place now.
Right.
When you're parallel parking on a city street, there might be 2 or 3 spots set aside for EVs. You go to a mall, there's a line of chargers, Tesla chargers. For
some of them on fire, some of them not.
Right. Yeah. Most of them not, but every once in a while you get a.
We don't encourage that, by the way.
Exciting little event.
That is such a mess. But regardless, I mean, But the technology should catch up. Hopefully, it's only going to get better and better. And I mean, we're going to get there eventually at some point. I think it will go that way. But these other technologies shouldn't be pushed out of the way if they can be proved, just as efficient or just another way to bridge any holes that switching over to fully electric or whatever. You got to keep an open mind. See what comes to fruition, right?
Right, exactly. Now, for me, my personal preference is a little bit more traditional. Right. Hydrogen comes along. I'm really going to be taking a hard look at that because that has applications in boats of various sizes, not just outboards, but even inboards. So there's a place for electric. In fact, Yamaha is also developing, actually, and it is commercialized now, what's called their Harmo electric outboard motor, which can be added to small and, say, medium-sized runabouts. You can actually add, you can put 2 of them on the back of a boat, and they're about 9.9 equivalent horsepower, and they have a really good range. They're pretty light for what they do, and they're great skiff application because if you're not going really, really long distances, but you have a way to charge the motor and keep it conditioned, that's a great option. For you.
Yeah. And so they're taking advantage of, that sector for sure. And all the major manufacturers of motors are on the electric bandwagon. They all had it on display. We covered that before. But as far as the outboards that we're working on right now or looking at, we had the Verado, we had this Yamaha. What else is on the list there, Mike?
Well, Suzuki, more of an evolution than a revolution kind of a situation, but they're bringing back their 200 horsepower outboard with some improvements in efficiency, and they also remapped the engine management system to give it more low-end torque. So if you have a heavier boat and you're repowering with the Suzuki 200s, and say your previous 200s were adequate, you actually might feel a little bit more spunk with this motor, even though the horsepower is the same.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So they just released a new 200 horsepower version of that. Is that one's available now? Or
it is, and they saved a little bit of weight. And so you get a little bit of a better power to weight ratio, a little bit more low end torque for boats that could use that. A little heavier boats. Just a kind of an evolutionary kind of improvement.
Right.
Then, of course, Honda's in the game, and Honda has partnered with McLaren Performance. The Yamaha teamed with Roush, right?
Okay.
On a couple of their models. Well, Honda has teamed with McLaren Performance to get some extra horsepower out of what would normally be their 250 horsepower V6 motor for more competition, higher end horsepower applications. They're able to get it 300 horsepower out of their normal 250 horsepower V6 outboard.
All right. Well, that's hey, more is always better usually, especially if it's less weight. It's only going to transfer into better efficiency. And but how far can you go outside the window or envelope before you start throwing off your your balance of your vessel. You know, I mean, I do kind of wonder that. Like, if you were gonna say you switch out your Honda 250s and they got a new 250 or 350 that's lighter but more powerful, I mean, can't you get into the point where you'll start to throw off the weight balance and overpower your boat, or is there not so much of a problem there?
I don't think that would be too much of a concern there, because you're talking about weight savings that isn't
massive.
It's not massive in comparison to the entire boat, right?
Yeah.
But the motor itself is, say, 8% lighter. And if you start looking around a boat, and if your boat is a performance vessel and you're doing things, and weight really matters.
Yeah.
On my boat, weight doesn't matter. I weigh 40,000 pounds or 45,000 pounds. The boat doesn't change. It runs exactly the same. But wide open, I do 21 knots. So it's not like I have a performance vessel. It's just the weight doesn't really matter. But some of these boats, especially tournament fishing boats, center consoles, things like that, they do pay attention to the weight. They do pay attention to the power to weight ratio, and because
getting up to speeds where you get airborne, right?
Well,
could.
Yeah, but typically you have a weigh-in, right? So that's why bass boats and these bass boat fishing tournaments are so fast, right? So they need to be fast, because that gives you more fishing time, because you have to be back at the weigh station.
But if you're lighter and more powerful, and you're cruising at 70 miles per hour or more on the river there to get you, I mean, I've seen those things. They if they hit a roller, they can catch some air, and next thing you know, that extra or lighter weight might be a disadvantage. You hear what I'm saying? Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, it can be. In fact, you see bass boats flip all the time.
Yeah, we don't want that. So you got to keep that in mind as well. All right, we got more coming up on the World of Boating. Stay close.
You're listening to the World of Boating Radio Network. Successfully navigated the Sea of Commerce and now are clear to cruise with the World of Boating.
I do like the water.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
The sun, the sea air, good friends.
Brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
The word ship is hidden inside the word leadership as its derivation. So, if this office is, in fact, a ship, as its leader, I am the captain. But we're all in the same boat.
Aye, aye, Captain.
Captain, please, can you see my fire? Message in a bottle, starboard side.
This is the World of Boating. Greg, your first mate, Mike the Mariner, rounding out the crew as we navigate the latest boating news and information. And also keep an eye on the Palm Beach Boat Show going on this weekend. Weather's perfect. I have a prediction. They added a whole extra day, it appears, this year to the event. So I think they're going to end up breaking attendance records just because, well, they have an extra day, first off. But the weather's been great. Yeah. It's not been ideal for boating. It's been a little breezy and windy, chopping things up a little. But, man, weather-wise, sun, not much rain, that kind of thing. We did have one little caveat. I don't know. Did you hear what happened down in the Keys, down there in Florida City? Homestead, they had massive wildfires, closed down US 1. And some people were not getting, I mean, basically the Keys were closed off for a couple days. You couldn't get in or out. And I talked
only by boat or airplane.
Well, I was going to say, if you had a boat, you were lucky. You could still work, or unlucky, depending on how you looked at it. Right. But yeah, we've had some issues down there, but I haven't heard the latest today. But hopefully things have calmed down a little bit in that regard. But weather-wise, for the rest of the state, it's been beautiful, and I think that's going to play to the Palm Beach International Boat Show's advantage. What say you?
Oh, I think so. I mean, yes, the weather, as we talked before, was pretty rough at the beginning. Last weekend through the early part of the week, but it is absolutely amazing now. I'm looking out at St. John's River right now. Outside of my marina is dead calm. It is absolutely beautiful.
And you're just saying, why am I sitting here talking to Greg on the World of Boating when I could be out there having the time
all the money
of my
you
life?
pay me.
Well, okay, there's that.
You're constantly just throwing cash at me, so
well,
I've got to do the show.
You know, we have our standards. They're pretty low, but we try to accommodate everyone accordingly, which means they don't get squat. So, but they do it for the love of boating, and yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, the Palm Beach International Boat Show, the list of boats that are in the water is actually pretty impressive.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about it last week, me and Barry.
Yeah.
Do you see the Queen of the Show? I think, what is it called? Bold or something like that? It's like almost
Bold.
300 feet long or something. So, or is it
279 feet and 10 inches.
That's yeah. How do you get the 10 inches? I wonder. Well, we don't really want to know, but yeah, I mean, and I think that was on par with Miami and Fort Lauderdale. I think that boat may have been on display at those vessels or at those events as well. I'm not sure though.
I think so. Actually, I think Bold was there, and I think Synthesis was there as well.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing when you start looking at the size and scale of some of these, larger vessels. 36-foot beams, 40-foot beams, and it's just amazing to see that kind of technology and craftsmanship. But I mean, there's literally many dozens of boats in the water to be viewed at the Palm Beach International Boat Show. So it's just really everything from Benetti to Endurance to Azimuth. You've got Viking. I mean, anything you could possibly. Hatteras is there. Anything that you could, whether you're looking for a sport fish boat or a trawler or a motor yacht or a Go Fast center console, you're going to find something that fits your bill there for sure.
Now, Palm Beach isn't as big as Fort Lauderdale or Miami, but it's still pretty meaty. And the thing is, it kind of caters a little bit more to the yachty crowd, I think. That's what I've heard over the years. So when you go there, I mean, when you go to Miami and Fort Lauderdale, you see all types, whole cross section of folks. But when you get to Palm Beach, I think it does kind of lean a little bit more towards, the higher end folks or people with the bigger boats and yachts and things like that. And that's why I said last week to Barry, I said, dude, you need to go there and just go to the bar, hang out, buy a bunch of folks some free drinks, and try to buddy up to one of these billionaires so we can go out and boat with them. They probably don't appreciate me saying that, but if you're going to go that route, that would be one way to do it, right? What do you call those kind of boaters? Leeches or what, Mike?
I don't know, but I mean, there's it's a great crowd, first of all.
Yeah.
Typically when you're walking around looking, but everybody's there kind of, it's their same passion as well, right? So you have a lot of things to talk about.
Well,
regardless of whether you're,
doesn't matter how much. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You got to keep an eye out because, everybody's walking around in flip flops and maybe a golf shirt and a baseball cap. They all look the same, but just realize some of them may have more money than God, and you those are the kind of boating friends that you want to make, is what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean,
exactly. Like I look back and I think about like my old Uncle Clyde. He passed away many, many, many years ago, but he was a farmer his entire life and could never rub two nickels together until some guys showed up one day and said, "Hey, we want to buy your farm."
Yeah.
And it was worth a whole lot more than he ever thought it was, and he had a very good life after that.
Well, of course, but and all these folks. I mean, that's what I love about going to an event like that, because you'll strum up a conversation with someone over a rum runner there at the boat show, and we're just hanging out. We have the same love of boating. Next thing you find out, they own some country or state or something. They're the prime minister, of some country in the Caribbean or whatever. I mean, but you have that common bond of boating, so it's pretty easy to strum up a conversation with folks like that. So I mean, and most of them are very approachable, and you that's, I guess what I'm saying is, you never know who you're talking to, so just kind of keep that in mind, that it doesn't matter how much money you have. If you have that common bond of boating, it kind of brings everybody together, and you can have.
I can't tell you how many times I've met. Yeah, I've met people just like that you would never even know they had money. They're wearing shorts, flip flops, tank top,
right?
Worn out baseball cap. Turns out they're they own a 100-foot yacht, and
right.
But they're just completely down to earth. Come on in, have a beer. It's just that's the great thing about boating is it kind of it transcends your socioeconomic status,
right?
And you're just a boater, just like someone else. Maybe your boat's smaller, or maybe it's larger than someone else's, but
size matters.
Still a boat.
I don't know.
No, not really.
Yeah, that's what we tell ourselves. Lisa's boating guys. I don't know how the ladies feel about. Well, we know how they feel about it, but that's a whole another issue. But yeah, I mean, that's if you're in the area of any, and this kind of applies to almost any boating event. It's kind of accentuated a little bit, maybe in Palm Beach is what I'm saying. But but you should use that advantage to meet people. And next thing you know, you're befriended someone who has a big fancy yacht, and you're like, hey, come on out. We'll go cruise down the Intercoastal and get lunch. I'm like, what? You have a what? And you just got to keep it cool. And you might get lucky, to play that card and keep your options open, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Have you ever done that, or you're basically the boater that like Barry would try to suck up to, aren't you?
Well, I mean, we've every time we pull into a marina, I'll tell you a story. So we ran Silhouette up to Jacksonville back in mid-December.
Yeah.
And when we got there, the marina was closed. We got there after 5 o'clock, found a slip, pulled in, and immediately struck up a conversation with the people on the boat next to us. And, and turns out they were, liveaboards starting the Great Loop. And we just hung out, ended up having dinner with them. And
next day, hey, come on board. Come have some filet mignon and some champagne. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, you got your mission if you choose to accept it. All right. On that note, we're going to wrap it up till next time. Remember, whether it's sail or motor,
life is better as a boater.
Avast there! Come back here, you barnacle-bitten swab!
World of Boating is brought to you by worldofboating.com, your internet portal for the boating enthusiast.
Any of this getting through to you, son?
World of Boating is a production of Overboard Entertainment Incorporated.
Computer standing by.
Remember, you can listen live or to archives of past shows worldwide over the internet at worldofboating.com.
Computers can do that?
So tell a friend and come aboard every week for the World of Boating.
This is so great. I can't wait. I'm getting goosebumps. Feel me.
The radio show devoted exclusively to the boating lifestyle.
TTFN, ta-ta for now.
The opinions you just heard on the World of Boating are those of the hosts, callers, and guests. They are not necessarily those of any station or network, its management, or advertisers.
What are you being such a weenie for?
While on the water, your safety and the safety of many others depends on you. So boat smart and operate your vessel only after receiving the proper training and instruction for your area.
There is a fine line between genius and madness.
Have any questions or comments? Feel free to do so via the web at worldofboating.com.